here with Barney Edwards, the World Cup mechanic for the Midnight Race team. One of the greatest mechanics of all time.
Some might say, some might say.
No, but I do. I feel like that there is a big difference between, you know, a shop mechanic and a World Cup mechanic. Like, how did you make that transition?
So, I mean, I always used to work in a shop back in the day. Like, I moved to Whistler, worked in a shop for years as a mechanic. Kind of, you just build up your experience throughout years and years of just working on loads of different bikes, and everyone's kind of got their own different things that they want to do on their bikes in the shop, so you just build the experience that way, and then you just get riding, start meeting the right people, and you end up working kind of, hopefully, as most people's dream job as a mechanic on the World Cup. I guess the main thing with World Cup is like the preparation for everything. So start off the week, you strip down the bike, make it completely fresh, better than it ever was new, grease everything perfectly, and then you just start working through things, making it quiet, kind of really getting into the finer details of the setup and how it feels and how it sounds as well.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you would think about there, maybe that people at home could do for their bikes?
Usually we kind of strip all the linkage down fully apart, so it's in as many pieces as it could possibly be. And then we check all the bearings are running super smooth, because as soon as your bearings aren't very smooth, your suspension's then not going to be as supple as it was before. So keeping all the bearings in perfect working condition, kind of greasing up all those bolts, because we are taking them apart a lot. They have to be greased and Loctited so they're not coming undone throughout the week. And then, like, again with the hubs, making sure the hub bearings are running super smooth and clean and free as well. If they're full of a lot of grease, they don't run as quick as if they weren't full of a lot of grease.
Is there like a difference between do you have to make a trade-off between making a bike fast and making a bike kind of last, I guess?
Yeah, massively, yeah. So a lot of people on the World Cup will be fully stripping out the bearings of the hubs with no grease whatsoever. That doesn't work for very long. Throughout a wet day or a dusty day even, they get full of crap and wear out really quick, and then you start getting a load of play in them all. So when you're doing that, you're kind of replacing a lot more bearings, and it's not a longevity sort of thing, but it does make it roll quicker.
In terms of longevity, what is something that a person at home could do to make their bike last longer?
Things like lubing the chain is key. Lube the chain and wipe it off afterwards. You don't want any of that excess lube on there, because
I missed that part a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a very common thing, is just lubing the chain and wiping the excess, because as soon as there's excess oil, like lube on there, it just collects all the dirt and wears it out quicker. So sometimes it can be a detriment putting lube on, but you got to do it in the right way. And then, keeping it clean and greased when you're at home, cleaning your axles. Like, so if you jet wash your bike, it's driving a load of water into places that it shouldn't be. So quickly take your wheels out, whip your headset out if you really want to, and just re-grease it all, and you should be running a lot sweeter.
Yeah, okay. I'm doing this for me as well as for you. So how often should people get their suspension serviced? So
it kind of depends on where you're riding, what sort of conditions you're in. The wetter it is, obviously dirt is getting into the seals the whole time. So it's down brand to brand. They kind of have their different periods that they recommend. As a World Cup mechanic and kind of bike, we get it serviced every week. Luckily, we're supported by Fox, so they have technicians at every race, and they strip it all down, get it all lubed up again and running as perfect as they can every single week. That is not necessary for most people, but the more you can do it, the better it's going to feel.
Yeah, and I feel like because all of us like started off as privateers, and like how much of a difference do you think, when does that start to make a difference, right? To get your suspension serviced every week. Like, it's like 0.5% or like?
It really, throughout time, it will just get less and less supple off the top of it. So it won't be tracking the trail as well as it could be. So you'll feel like your bike starts bouncing around, feeling stiffer than it would brand new. Like with the same air pressure and suspension settings, it will start to just not track well and feel stiffer.
So a pro tip, actually, one of the things you'll hear when you walk around the pits at a World Cup race or an EWS is the riders talking about how quiet their bikes are. And so it's almost like more of a mental benefit.
Yeah, exactly. It's just keeping your rider focused on the actual trail ahead of them rather than thinking, oh, my bike's getting really noisy. Is it gonna break? Or is it, like it's a very, confidence inspiring thing to have a quiet bike.
So if we like went from the front to the back, like on the front, are you doing anything to quiet down the bike in the front?
So not necessarily a lot in the front. As you can see on this one, they always have number plates on the front of the bike here. This little bit of rubber here is to stop when the cable is slapping around and they're going off rough stuff. That is just to try and dampen that sound a little bit. Other than that, When it's dusty, gets creaky, so you kind of take the stanchions out, give them a wipe, and hopefully it stops creaking.
And then I think where the creativity comes
Yeah,
in.
this is where we can have a bit of fun, I guess. Yeah.
Is the chainstay.
Yeah, right here we've got lots of these little fins. Lots of mechanics do it very differently. We've all kind of got our own way of going about it, but essentially having a chain hitting a flat surface is slapping on it. So if you can make it so it's broken up that flat surface by so you can almost illustrate it with your fingers, it's less noise, it's not gonna kind of resonate around as much as a clap.
And then all those little things kind of add up to
hopefully a confident, quiet bike, yeah. And all they need to focus on is the riding.
What are 2 tips that you have for everyone out there, from beginner to pro, World Cup winner, that everyone should do before they go out and ride?
I'd say number 1, most people always forget to check their tire pressures. I do it every time I go out for a ride, because they do, especially if it's tubeless, they do leak over time. It's not a perfect situation, but over time, if you haven't used it for a week, there is going to be air that has leaked out, so you always want to check your pressures, and then you're always having a consistent bike to ride. Second would be just lubing the chain. It will make your chain last longer, your cassette last longer, it's going to cost you less money.
Yeah, that's true. I love it.
It's an easy one.